So we're going to build a bike. Now I enjoy tinkering, and you've probably seen some of my experiments if you watched a couple of the earlier videos, and this is a sort of inevitable next step really. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to build and why, and then hopefully we can follow along with the construction. But for now, let's just talk a little bit about the background. I mean, I've been buying mountain bikes for 10 years now, and it's a never-ending experiment really. I've gone from a full suspension to a hardtail, and more recently to a rigid frame, but you know, all this tinkering suggests there's always dissatisfactions and niggles. There's always things that you want to be different or better. So building from scratch, well, of course it's not from scratch, it's a modular kit of parts at the end of the day, but it's in some sense going to be more satisfactory than buying a bike off the shelf. So just talking about this evolution towards the simplicity, if you like, of the rigid frame. I mean, this is a great bike, make no mistake, and it's an even better bike now. I've put this SLX drivetrain on, but you know, it's really not a mountain bike in the true sense of the word. And what I've come to realise is that even on moderately rough stuff, I really do miss the full suspension. And the fact is, I want to do some proper mountain biking, and I'm off to the Brecon Beacons next month, and I want to take full suspension with me. I had, initially the thought entered my head to buy yet another bike, and we all know how that goes. Once the idea's in your head, very difficult to get rid of it. But then I thought, well look, I've got this perfectly adequate, underused, albeit 9-year-old full suspension bike. I'll just take that. And okay, it's not exactly what I would choose if I were to get the catalogues out and buy something new, but the bike's perfectly up to the job. So I decided to steer the more moderate course, and I put a bit of money into revamping this. I did it in a sort of half-hearted way back in January or February. I was tending to go to the Beacons back then, but you may recall that was one particular week we had, I think, 2 or 3 major storm systems came through pretty much on the heels of each other, and that's exactly the time I'd booked to go away, and so I was washed out. Didn't go, but I'd replaced the chain. I put a dropper seat post on in preparation for that. Then of course, this being 2020, everyone knows what happened after that, and here we are now in approaching mid-August, and hopefully I'll be able to go off to the Beacons next month. But I've had a second go at the revamp. I've changed the brakes on this. I've taken apart and sorted out the shifting, which it got a bit unpredictable, and that's worked really well. The dropper seat post obviously, and changed the tyres. That's pretty much it, I think. And it's a great bike. It's a 26-inch wheel bike, by the way, so old style in that regard, but the shocks are fine, the hubs are fine, cranks are fine, put me good pedals and me Infinity saddle on, so it's ready to go. So all credit to this bike. It's a great machine, but it does have its foibles. I've got 2.3-inch tyres on here. These are Maxxis high roller tyres. They're great tyres, but too big for the rear of this bike really. I mean, it fits, but the clearance is minimal. If you get pick up any mud on that, you could very quickly grind to a halt. And in fact, what happens is, quite often with these tyres, these are new tyres, it picks up a stone in these outer treads, and so you get a click, click, click as the stone's hitting the chainstay. It's not the go anywhere roughy tufty bike I'd like it to be, with chunky tyres and so on. So that idea of the upgrade intruded once again, and I was looking at bikes, like, well, I was looking at the giant bikes in particular. I like those, I've always liked those. And I was looking at the 29ers. The Trans 3 29er was the bike I kind of had my eye on, and then I looked at some of the reviews, and they were very lukewarm. And of course, you know, once things are pointed out, you find even though you're paying £2,100 for that bike, which sounds like a lot for me, that's twice what I paid for this, more than twice what I paid for this, although that was 9 years ago, we have to admit. You know, the specs on that aren't great, and they're not. It's not much better specified in some, certainly in terms of the shocks. You know, this has got 130mm travel at each end, and so has that Trans 3 29er. Okay, it's got 29-inch wheels. It has reasonable appointments, but it's not spectacular. In fact, if you look at the giant, the non-29er series, which is built around the 27.5-inch wheels, the specs tend to be higher, and in particular the shocks. You get Fox shocks, I think at both ends. You get 140mm travel. It's certainly on the fork. I can't remember what the rear is. So that's more respectable. You're paying £2,700 for that. But still, you know, that's got. I mean, you have compromises, and when I'm paying £2,700 for a bike, I'm starting to not want to have so many compromises. The brakes on that bike, for example, they're perfectly respectable brakes, but they're over-specified for what I want. They're more of an enduro brake. They're 4-piston brakes with so I mean the brake pads are like twice as big, probably cost twice as much. You know, I'm sure they're excellent brakes, but not necessarily, probably more maintenance intensive. And there's a few other things. You know, what I'm saying in a nutshell is compromise again. And so I got the idea, look, what if I could buy that giant frame or a frame and, you know, keep the bits I want. And in particular, you know, I thought the brakes I've just put on this bike, I could put those on a new bike. These are SLX brakes, absolutely fantastic brakes. Got the SLX drivetrain I put on here. It's a 1x12. Fantastic drivetrain. I could take that off here, put that on a new frame, and so on. Just felt like a really compelling idea. So that's what I'm going to do. All the details up for grabs, but it's going to be kind of a general purpose trail bike is what I'm after. You know, something I can put big fat tyres on, not necessarily cross tyres. Probably going to be, well, 29er or 27.5. You know, there's a trade-off there as well. 27.5 wheels. They're going to be lighter. Tyres are going to be lighter, significantly lighter. 29ers, you know, that's on trend. But you've got weight penalties. So kind of go anywhere. Trail bike, so going up as well as down. So we don't want anything that's just downhill biased. We don't want anything that's too heavy. Well, gears, you know, were covered really, as I say, if I can reuse the drivetrain from here. A big enough bike to be comfortable on. Want good ground clearance, which the Pinnacle, you know, just another niggle. This has got quite a low bottom bracket, which means it's much easier to hit the pedals, or well, I haven't grounded out the bike, the chain wheel, but still, you know, that's not, you know, these are all things you learn just through experience. You know what the rough edges are. So that's the plan. Build it myself rather than off the shelf. You know, notionally we could do this cheaper. It'll probably not end up being cheaper. Well, I mean, if I do genuinely get to reuse the drivetrain and the brakes, you know, maybe it will be cheaper. It depends on what frames available and so on. So that's where we're headed. Let's see where we end up. So I'm just checking out a couple of frames on eBay, trying to decide whether to buy one, and indeed which one to buy. We're looking at, let's have a quick look at these. One of them's a Trek Fuel X frame with the shock. It's got a used shock with it. It's a brand new frame. Beautiful frame. It's the right kind of bike. It's a good price. It's listed at £600, but it's an auction. I suspect this will go for £900, £1,000 maybe. Still a knockdown price. It's about I can't remember exactly, £1,800 new. This is the aluminium version. And I think this comes from the pictures, looks like it's got a headset and a bottom bracket included. Yeah, the headset. Looks like the headset's fitted and the BB. And that's an extra large size frame, so that's good. You know, I'm happy with going up a size, although I would have stood for a large as well. And it can take 29er, or I think it's designed for 29er wheels. The smaller sizes are built around, the bikes are built around 27.5 inch. I guess you could put 27.5 inch wheels on this frame, why not? But there you go. Let's look at the other one. The other one, different kettle of fish altogether. This is a Pivot carbon frame, and this comes with a brand new frame with a warranty at a knockdown price. It comes with a Fox shock with a Fox shock. Also brand new. It's an older model. It's 2016 to 2018, so not too old. And oh, it's a great looking frame. It's substantially more expensive, but this is a buy it now. And as I say, it's brand new with a warranty. Not a, I mean, the other Trek frame is unused, but it won't have a warranty with it. This is a size large. It's listed at £1,400. Now that's a knockdown. The list price for this is like £2,700. Although you can get it cheaper than that. You can get them for £22.50 or something, but this is still way cheaper than that. I mean, this is a steal, honestly. I'm edging towards buying this. I think it's got a hanger, derailleur hanger with the frame. Doesn't have a bottom bracket. I guess it doesn't have a headset either. But yeah, thinking very seriously about clicking on this one. This is a, I mean, I've looked up Pivot. I wasn't aware of Pivot as a brand. It's an American brand. I mean, this frame is, I suppose it's trending towards the much tougher kind of bike, like an enduro towards downhill. But from the manufacturer's website, and indeed the bikes that you can buy built around this, they are built much more of a kind of general purpose, a trail style bike, but it's just very much more capable, and it's pretty light. I haven't compared the frame weights. This is quoted as, well, a medium would be £6.5, which is about 3 kilos, I guess, less than 3 kilos. A large, probably a bit more. I don't know how that compares with an aluminium frame. But there you go, that's where we're at for now. Got to just decide on this before someone else snaps it up. There's only one available. This is from upgradebikes.co.uk, which seems to sell Pivot frames and build kits. And God, if you look at the build kit, even the bottom level, which is a Shimano XT based build kit, it's about 2.5k just for the, so that gives you all the bits over and above the frame to build a bike. So so we're looking at 4k bike as an entry level. I'm sure we can build it for much less than that with some of what I've got to hand and buying a few bits, maybe second hand. So yeah, let's see if we buy this and we'll be back.